Welcome to the Andor Hour. We're recording this and maybe streaming it for posterity. I'm joined by whoever shows up live and, of course, Chris Oss. Chris has been desperate to spoil Andor for everyone, so let me just preface this. It's Chris's time. This is Chris's show. Be very clear, audience. We're going to be talking Andor Season 2, probably Season 1, probably Rogue One, Star Wars in general. We're going to be talking politics because it's Andor. If these things bother you, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see you complaining in the comment section or the audience. All right? Chris, this is your time. It's your moment. You go. You go.
All right then.
What do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, let's just open with
Mhm.
did you enjoy let's just do a season to season comparison and then how you feel about the Andor franchise or as a TV entity in the in the wider Star Wars universe. So what do you think from from 1 to 2?
Okay.
Your feelings improved?
I thought Rogue One was the best Star Wars movie of all times. I thought Andor Season 1 was so incredibly bold and was some of the best Star Wars media made. I think Season 2 is extremely topical in a way they maybe couldn't have known it would be when they were making it, how it would be received upon release. Now, with that said, the first 3 episodes of Andor, up until the Aldhani heist actually kicks off, they're rough. They're rough, man. They lay down a lot of groundwork, but pretty much until corporate security guy shows up, Sergeant Kern. Until he shows up, until the heist goes down, you get interspersed moments. Nemec quoting poetry. You get the guy who we aren't really sure whether he's going to betray everyone right up until he betrays everyone. You get the TIE fighter, a single TIE fighter. What kind of threat could it be? But everyone in that valley is afraid of it. And we suddenly realize it actually is a dire threat to a dozen people on foot. And it could blow the whole operation wide open. After those first 3 episodes, Andor absolutely takes off and gets fucking crazy. I think that Season 2 has a similar but different problem. I think that rather than having the problem of needing to build up, it just has some plots that kind of fall to the wayside. And my understanding is several of those plots were just cut for time.
Mhm.
You have beef with the whole opening Mon Mothma arc that we haven't gone into. I actually liked that a lot. I thought Niamos was good, the song about the planet. I thought everything with her husband Perrin was good. I thought that the kissing the ass of her daughter, who was having a life-shattering breakdown because a boy didn't want to hold her hand before they were married. I thought that was so realistic. And then her standing in the bridal chamber talking about how her mother was drunk and desperately begging her daughter not to do this thing, and her daughter just absolutely shattering her worldview. Just Mon Mothma constantly having to deal with Tay, and the rebellion is falling apart. Luthen is on a murder spree. Anything could break at any time. Who knows what's going on with, I want to call him Sklondar, but the piratical dude who's basically funding the rebellion through buying illicit stuff and is shuffling the money to Tay. I mean, there's so much subtlety. There's her cousin or whatever she is, the female Mon Mothma cousin, watching Cinta put Tay in a car and knowing that dude's about to die. There's Luthen hearing about Tay asking for a number, and in that moment, he decided that Tay would die. It didn't matter. He had several more conversations with Mon Mothma, but I could tell from the look on his face, he had already decided he was going to fucking kill Tay. Yeah, that was immediate. Mon Mothma was not in on that plan for sure. She thought there would be a discussion, and it's clear that she's been so busy, she actually did let this fall to the wayside. This guy has been trying desperately to keep his life together, and now he's arrived at a point where he is blackmailing the rebellion, which of course has led to his death. And he doesn't know that it's going to lead to that. He thinks he's got all the cards because he can screw over all his partners. And I love the bickering where Mon Mothma's not sure whether she can trust Luthen. Luthen's not sure whether they can trust, I'm going to again call him Sklondar, but the piratical dude who has the art exhibit. All of them are all backstabbing each other. It perfectly plays into everyone backstabbing Saw Gerrera seeing it coming. All the people around the table in both Rogue One and Season 2 of Andor being like, blah, blah, blah. We can't trust Luthen. Oh, we should do things diplomatically. Oh, this council is so wise. And it's like, yeah, but all the people who actually do stuff for the rebellion know infinitely more than you. The people on the ground know what the situation is, and they just want to be able to execute their orders, and they don't want to listen to Bail Organa and 4 people in headpieces go meow, 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 meow. Watching the rebellion not be united is so good, and I think it all stems from that first scene of Mon Mothma, Luthen, and Tay all being on different pages at the same time as different leaders of the rebellion. That's my opening pitch to you, is that let's start the story at the beginning of season 2. Mon Mothma's no good, very bad weekend, 3-day long wedding.
Yeah. So I'll make a small correction for the record.
Very well.
I don't have a specific, like, my beef for the first arc is less to do with actually Mon Mothma. That particular third storyline is the strongest of the 3. I have more of a beef with the other things that are going on in those episodes.
Okay.
Specifically the choice of the TIE fighter and the choice of then what happens on what is that later revealed as Tatooine.
No, they're on Yavin, right?
Yavin. Thank you, Yavin.
Yeah, they're on Yavin.
That's my more beef. And the Mon Mothma one, I do have some corrections, but we'll get into that as we get into it.
His name's Skulden, by the way.
Space for improvement. Skulden.
Skulden, yeah, I googled it.
Yeah.
I googled who Star Wars, who is Tay's partner. That got the correct answer. People have to be
kind to me because I watched this immediately.
Of course.
Speak to anybody about it.
Right.
I'm trying to pull from a couple of weeks ago, but no, I like a lot of the things you said there. There's a few little things in there that I think around the rebellion and how the flip of them not supporting or having such a negative feeling towards Luthen, but we'll get to that. So yeah, look, I'm with you. I totally agree. I feel like, again, similar to the first season, the first couple of episodes were rougher, and the challenges that this season had to face were different, where the first season was trying to like build you to care about a character that like when people were told we're going to do an Andor series, most people were like either A, who is that, because I hadn't watched
Rogue One,
or B, they had not they didn't really care about this random character who was not the focus, inverted commas, not the lead for Rogue One. The second season had the trouble of the fact that they were looking at 4 to 5 seasons was the original pitch for this, and then they were told you've got 1, and having to compress effectively 3 or 4 seasons worth of stuff into a single season. I think they did, like, they had to make the choice of we're going to time skip our way through with effectively a year gap between each episode, and I think they did a really, really good job on executing that. Because and there's very few, I don't know if there's any other shows you can go look at and go like, here we are time skipping through a
1 year every arc.
Yeah, every arc. Yeah, we're going to time skip through 5 years, and try and keep still a somewhat, still keep a cohesive story. So, I give kudos to that and the challenges of that. But yeah, so where were we going to? Like, we're going back to the first episode.
I want to talk about the Mayans. You don't like that storyline, and I actually thought it was pretty good. Okay, so this is the people on Yavin. This is the group that splits into 2 groups. So they're named after their leader who isn't there, Maya. They call themselves the Mayans. All of the other planets in the first few episodes have a name tag pop up when we go there. Like even the Cinar planet, Site 17 or whatever, has one pop up, but not that planet. Because the reveal was as they pull out, you see the temples of Yavin, which are, of course, Mayan ruins. So it was supposed to be a subtle foreshadowing that this was all taking place on Yavin.
Which I liked.
I think that there has never been a better example in media of leftist infighting, of watching two groups of people, or more than two, who agree with each other and are so busy accidentally shooting each other and screaming at each other that they end up dooming all of themselves. It's incredible to watch. They treat Andor like shit, even though it seems pretty clear to me that he knows where he's from. I love that they bring the test pilot helmet out and they're like, this is the damning evidence needed to prove that he's an Imperial. This helmet he got from this obviously strange looking TIE Advanced or whatever it was. The TIE, I think it's a TIE Advanced.
Oh, it's certainly a prototype for.
Yeah, it's certainly to a prototype for whatever Vader ends up. I actually love that thing. It's at first I was like, it's so big inside the cockpit. When I noted that there were jump seats in the back, I was like, oh, for sure, he's gonna end up escaping with some people. When he didn't escape with people, I was like, all right, well, maybe I was wrong. And then, of course, on the Grain planet, he has exactly the number of jump seats needed for the number of people who are escaping. How convenient is that? Everybody else is dead and the robot stays on the planet. So I liked that storyline. I like the leftist infighting. I think it really speaks to Saw Gerrera's show in Rebels, in Star Wars Rebels. It speaks to him in Rogue One and in Season 1, where he constantly is just going like, hey, aren't you tired of fighting people that you agree with? Aren't we all fighting the same enemy? Aren't we all on the same side? Everyone is constantly backstabbing each other.
We all want to fight the way. I don't think we all want to fight the way Saul does, but
I mean, let's be clear. Saw Gerrera he's a terrorist. He is a terrorist. Let's be really clear here. He's not a legitimate entity.
Bad guys, it's like, well, we're a little bit bad.
I mean, his introduction is clearly meant to shadow him being the Republic's version of Darth Vader, in the same way that Luthen is meant to be the Emperor Palpatine. Okay? And to some extent, I think that you can make a case that Kleya is kind of like their Luke Skywalker. You know, the Redeemer, who in the end helps save Luthen in his final moments by finally bringing the rebellion together. Anyway, that's complicated. The rest of the rebels form a legitimate state architecture. They have multiple political contacts and economic system. They have a system of governance and military. They begin to address each other by ranks. They very clearly have some measure of legitimacy from the population. Saw Gerrera is highly effective. He knows exactly what he's doing. He sees the Empire coming at every turn. He can. I did not expect the guy who was working with Melshi on the drill to be a traitor. I thought it was really weird that he was pushing for finding the site. And I thought it was equally weird that Saul would give in. That, for me, I was immediately like, that's weird. That doesn't seem like something Saw Gerrera would do. But, okay, maybe the writing's toned down a little bit. But I'll go with it. And then in the end, it was a double flip. And I was like, holy shit. Tony Gilroy, or whatever his name is a fucking genius. Saw is a terrorist. Let's be really clear. He uses civilians as shields. He attacks from, completely. He's just a bad guy. His fight is legitimate, but he does it in a way where he uses anyone and anything as a weapon. He is a remorseless terrorist. And he literally is a drug user because he huffs that rhydonium gas. He loves that shit.
Man, look, Jesus, we're jumping ahead there, but that whole story arc just makes like one of the weakest. For anybody who is watching, please make sure you've got time to watch Rogue One immediately after the last episode and appreciate for me and for others, has been how the first act of Rogue One, which is often felt to be a bit weak, and then there's a lot of supporting characters that I don't really care about when they die,
Right.
like get all that gets
Yeah, when he has to kill
reinforced
Melshi right
in
at the
this, and
beginning.
Saul. Yep, yep, and then Saul Guerrera,
Sorry, it's Tvix. He kills Tvix at the beginning. Yeah.
Tvix, yeah. And building Saul Guerrero up and understanding why he is so unhinged. For some people, that was their first ever viewing of Saul Guerrero, having never watched any of the Clone Wars stuff. And
I
like,
never
who is
saw
this
Clone
unhinged
Wars.
fella?
I just saw him in Rebels, I think. I think he was in like 1 or 2 episodes. The thing is, though, he really kind of replaces a character from Legends by the name of Garm Bel Iblis, who is like a legitimate Republic naval military commander who sees the Empire coming and like leaves and creates like a partisan rebel group. He's not a terrorist. He's like a legitimate warfighter. But, he's working with like 20-year-old equipment by the point that the rebellion needs his forces. So it's all like half put together shit. It's the sons and daughters of the original pilot sort of deal. Garm Bel Iblis is washed up and bitter by the point he gets in there. I really feel like Saw was kind of vaguely inspired by that character.
It was a lot. There was hard to find the original man, and the man who wanted to find revenge for his sister. I think
Sure.
who was killed by the Empire, which is what kicked it off way back in the beginning, and also just like his people.
I'll tell you the other thing about him is Melshi being there, or Tvix being there and being like, all right, I need to hyper concentrate on doing this. And Saw being like, yeah, I know, you have to concentrate on doing this. And then he starts giving a grandiose fucking speech while this guy is clearly sweating his ass off. I'm like, what are you doing? I don't know. See, that's the thing. That's the thing that brought me out of it a little bit, was that all of Saw's actions were like just over the top enough to kind of pull me out of it and be like, okay, I mean, this character is supposed to be larger than life, but this is actually completely unbelievable. Here's the other beef I have.
Like a stirring monologue whilst I'm handling the do not touch the sides, trying to play patient operation with a nuclear bomb.
I hate to go Twilight 2000, but it definitely felt like a major discussing his life philosophy to a sergeant who was busy, or maybe a corporal, busy doing the real work in bomb disposal.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
In my day, I have to make it
lots of smoke.
I have to make a confession.
Mm.
I've been a Star Wars fan for a long time, a really long time. I watched the original movies, of course. I thought Mon Mothma, I thought her first name was Mothma. I thought Mon was a title. I did not realize until this season, after like 30 years of watching Star Wars, that her first name was Mon. Embarrassing, I know.
Well, there you go. There's that world building right there. Look, so I had not looked at the lens of. So wait, let's go back to the TIE Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So the TIE Fighter, the TIE Avenger, I like the fact that it was a prototype, and I can allow it to be challenging and unwieldy and be like not reliable because it's a prototype. So I would have liked to see it be pushed a bit more about it being a prototype, because at that point when he arrives, it seems a lot more like a finished product that has an insane control system that nobody warned him about, and then it apparently can take insane blows of dragging itself, like for a ship that's been known notoriously for being a glass cannon, a super fast glass cannon.
Mm-hmm.
It's like just getting skull dragged along the ground and the walls, and it's just like, oh, and this is still a functioning ship. Like, this doesn't align to A, what the ship looks like, and B, what we've got in lore when it comes to TIE fighters and stuff like that. So I would have liked, I think the same thing could have occurred, and you still could have had a bit of a wacky control system, because anybody who's looked at some of the prototype military equipment that never made it into service, especially during World War II, could see that's like, oh yeah, there's like somebody does think, no, we should use a spherical ball as a three-dimensional flight control system.
I love that you have to pull
So
back
like,
on it to go forward. It's so fucking. It's
which
the
is a little
worst.
bit, it's a little Independence Day. Like it's a little Independence Day when I saw that, and I was just like, oh okay. But I mean, I appreciate we didn't have to like write a sticker or something like that. But it's I didn't in there as well. I didn't like the whole the and this is just a problem with stormtroopers in general, where they get to be goons that need to stand dead in front and in front of like a Gatling, a shipboard Gatling gun, and be like, yeah, this is a good plan. This is a good pen with my pea shooter against an armored, an armored aircraft. It's just there's just some moments there, and the problem is it's right in the beginning of the series, and I've just come off, a number of shows where the second series was terrible in comparison to the first. So I got very shaky in here. But I feel like if they had the troopers had been less goonish, if the aircraft had been less reliable, and that's the reason why he keeps getting into danger because systems, overheat, run out, or he's got to like feather the throttle rather than just like just bouncing off the walls and skull dragging around and just like having absolutely appeared no control over the control system, I would have been more comfortable with that storyline. uh but yeah, and I mean also it would be really cool because then that aircraft you don't see again. Like it's not brought in anywhere else. And personally, and that's only from like my old thoughts from listening back in expanded universe, it would have been cooler to have a prototype of like the X-wing or the Y-wing or something. It's not the Y-wing, so the X-wing or something like that. To pull
I
out a
understand.
prototype or an item that then gets used later. But that's cool. It's it's Imperial. That's fine. But yeah, I feel like they could have lent into the prototype weird design part and had it be that it just wasn't reliable as opposed to having a getaway chase scene that has gag laugh moments in it, which I feel like they did because some of the negative, some of the negative responses on season one was just like it's too slow, it's not building up fast enough, like, and so they were like, okay, well we have done an exciting chase scene in the beginning to like pull you in to address those fears. That's going to be a slow build um, monologue show. So, and being a bit more of the Star Wars, put in inverted commas, which I say is more like a genre, the genre of Star Wars, of spaceships and lasers. Even if we get rid of the religion slash lightsaber side. Um, but yeah, so that was for that part. Um, Now moving on to landing on Yavin. Yep,
Wait,
great
wait,
name.
wait, wait, wait.
The name
I want to go
sounds
back and
real.
talk about the TIE
Oh, go.
Advanced. Yeah, or the TIE Avenger. Yeah. So I agree with you. No contest in any way about the stormtroopers basically just being there to get ice. Of course, in some ways, I don't mind it, but I understand where you're coming from for sure. I think with that said, though, I'm okay with it disappearing. The thing is that the Star Wars 789 movies definitely established that it was that. So in the original expanded
Be
universe,
careful. Be careful. Any argument of 789.
yes, I understand.
I'd love to draw upon this the worst trilogy, but yes, go.
I'm not, but in the original expanded universe, the story was that the X-wing and all of the other wing fighters were all based off of the Z95 Headhunter like prototype stuff,
Yep.
and that they were personally made by whatever the company is that makes them, Incom. Like the Incom took their all their families and then handmade every X-wing and like upgraded old Y-wing bombers to become two-seaters and such, and everything was all custom handmade by like former engineers. The whole company went into hiding. And then of course in 7, 8, and 9, I think it's specifically in 8 where Guillermo del Toro or Benicio del Toro, whoever his character is like, oops, they're selling to both sides deal. I was like, okay, well, all right, that just shit on like the coolest part, of like people, cool engineers like joining the rebellion and then using their years of expertise during the Republic's wars to like hand make these beautiful craft that actually save people's lives as opposed to shitty TIE fighters. But okay. So they rewrote that fiction. So, like I don't think it would have made sense to have an X-Wing be stolen. But I get where you're coming from there as well. I just think that Disney wrote itself into a corner about the origins of the X-Wing long time ago. They wrote that corner in 8 and they wrote it in Rebels where it's established now. There's no breaking it for Disney. Yavin, that's where you were going next. I liked it. I honestly liked it. I liked it
Yeah.
a lot. I liked
So,
watching dumbasses do dumb stuff. It felt real
yeah,
to me.
and I can like so I and to be clear, I had not put it through the lens like yourself of the leftist infighting. So that's not a
The
lens that I
first thing I thought of
through.
when I saw that shit happening.
Yeah. So I saw it a bit more through well, the way I viewed it was this is the show showing the example of the disorder, like the juvenile nature that the rebellion and its military forces were in at that time,
Absolutely,
and the
completely agree.
loss of yeah, and the loss of the whoever that driving person who either actually has some skill or has charisma and is actually everybody's willing to throw to put their lives on the line for the yes, part of the ideal, but a lot more about the person that is leading them, that charismatic character or that intelligent, respected character, and the loss of that character or that loss of that head causing the infighting the infighting and then the power struggle that can then be occur between there when somebody wants to take that new pecking order, or the other option is it just dissolves because that person's gone. Now, obviously, in this case, they couldn't dissolve because they couldn't leave, so now they're forced to find a leader, and they're trying to, there's a pecking order that's going on, trying to work out who that leader is going to be, and it was just like I appreciate that they were young. There was, I think, there was one or two older characters in there that I feel like could have like it was just a little bit of silliness or teenager and look like I know young soldiers and some of that stuff I could see, and then there was some again just silliness. Just I think it's an effect of this show and a lot of the characters in this show being very mature individuals or mature souls, even if they are not experienced in things. They're not people that necessarily rush in a lot of places, and to then show this side of it is a quite a juxtaposition between the two, and then thus and again coming off the previous part of the episode or this arc, I was not feeling good. I'm again like, no, this is a second one that I'm not. This isn't what I want. This isn't what I want to see. This is making me feel like it might all go a bit silly. So there was a compounding issue there in those two storylines, where I was like, please take me back to the Mon Mothma stuff. Even though we'll talk about some of the things I'd like to change in there as well, it certainly was back to that far more mature um, character and setting. So, but yeah, so like that was the thing, like separation of the two. There was some sillies of like put down all our guns. It was like, why are we out here yelling when you've already established that there are things that will kill us at night? But it's like, yeah, but we've become focused on who's going to be the leader. Um, so there's there's things where, and maybe it's just part of me as somebody who is a, uh, you know, a probably who has military training and leader of soldiers. I just want to grab some heads and just start bashing them together. Like
Okay.
there'd definitely be some bastardization in that group to grip it back up again.
I
Um,
mean, I
so
feel like that's supposed to. I think you already nailed it on the head at like how unprofessional and how untrained the rebellion is at this point. And now that you have mentioned it, it makes me think that there's a reason they begin subtly adding the code phrase, I have friends everywhere, to identify to other groups, because Cassian literally ran into the situation where he was like, my pilot partner was here, and they're like, oh, we killed that guy. And he's like, well, that's my ship. And they go, no, it's not. And I mean, he clearly knows it's his ship because he goes and opens up, like secret compartments. And yeah, like it's obviously him the whole time. But they start introducing a code phase to identify themselves to other people after that incident that you begin to start seeing creeping up everywhere. Mon Mothma, somebody else uses it as well. But yeah, I think that you're right. It does show the immaturity of the rebellion at this point. But again, I think that's part of the reason why Luthen is the guy in the background slowly cooking things up. He's the one that establishes this framework of, he and Clea are the ones who establish that phrase, that everyone should know it. Like, people don't know who Luthen is. They just know him as Axis, but he's the one that establishes these policies.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Luthen's got his flaws, and Luthen is
No, he's perfect.
Very, he has his personal flaws.
He's got the cards, all right? He's got the cards.
Yeah, but he's also like, he's still the same person. He's not the he would not. He is not a character or has this. His skill sets do not align in traditional military structure. As in,
Sure.
like in the, it's so, I can appreciate, like, because you got people trust you and want to follow you and stuff like that. And if we learn anything, as much as people follow Luthen, there's very few people that trust Luthen.
But he wasn't trying to be that guy. And he knew how to be that guy. He was an Imperial Army sergeant. He knew how to run a traditional military unit. That's not what he was trying to do.
Yeah, he needed to find the people, and people to do that part, because he couldn't do both.
I mean, he's explicitly an accelerationist. He's not trying to fight the war himself. He's trying to push the Empire to continue cracking down instead of boiling the frog slowly. He wants them to crack down enough that people start waking up and fighting back. He puts other people in danger constantly in a way that a military probably would not do.
All right. So, Mon Mothma?
Mon Mothma. I'm going to say this.
So,
it's going to be really misogynist. I hope that all the women of the world and everyone else will forgive me. In the first season, every time something sadder happened to her, she became so hot. I was like, by the end of the season, I was like, she's never been more attractive than this moment. And in season 2, I was like, I don't know. I just have no attraction to this woman anymore. All right. I put it out there. Eviscerate me in the comments. She's not there to be attractive. I just want to note that was a thing. There are so many small things about Mon Mothma. I think that she and Luthen pick up on Clea and Lonnie at the party where, what's the name of the cape wearing guy? Director Krennic. So I think that Mon Mothma sees that they're doing something. Luthen notices it with her. And just like Luthen is an accelerationist, Mon Mothma personally has an increasingly loud, distracting conversation so that Lonnie and Clea can finish what they're doing, because it's clear that they're in danger. I thought that was really clever. And the show never explicitly says it, but I'm like, oh, Mon definitely notices that shit. She absolutely saw it happen. Luthen saw it happen. He starts nudging her. And all of a sudden, there's this huge argument with Krennic out of nowhere where he's like, one man's rebel is another man's terrorist. I mean, first off, this guy is dropping bombs left and right. The whole show, the finger on the head. Oh my God. He loved playing that character. Calcite, deep substrate foliated calcite substitute. kind alternatives.
Just eat it up.
All the hand
Eat it
gestures,
up.
the restraint. I'm going to give you some advice. You think that you're hard to read, but you're not. You need to get over yourself. Incredible.
One man who, oh god, actually, there's a number of characters here who just eat up the dialogue, just eat the words, eat the scenery, and it's so hard when they're all in one room.
I love that he's constantly like, I was meeting with the Emperor yesterday. So anyway, we should do what I say or you'll all fucking die. It's so good because I think it really drives home the point in Rogue One that was kind of subtle, that Krennic had a lot of power and Tarkin explicitly steals the Death Star project from him. And Krennic is watching it happen. He's worked on this for years. It's finally ready. Darth Vader does not help him. The Emperor literally does not give a shit. And Tarkin just comes in and takes it from him. It's heartbreaking to watch a master of his craft.
It's a lovely project you got there. It'd be a real shame if somebody just took that away and took all the credit.
Yeah.
Whoop.
I mean, we already know Tarkin's a bastard. Season 2 of Andor talks about how he landed his Star Destroyer in the middle of Gorman and just fucking killed a bunch of people.
Yeah, he's got a PR problem. Or exactly what he wanted.
Don't you think those Gormans are a little arrogant? That they don't follow imperial norms and values? We put that idea in your head. Such a good line.
Anyway.
And then later, you see Cyril looking at the news reporters who are like, it's a riot! They're overrunning us! And it's just people singing and there's no rioting at all. I was like, oh, what a good frame job. This is incredible.
And his mum parroting the lines back.
Oh, yeah. Tony Gilroy fucking cooked, man.
Yeah.
I saw people saying that they thought that Gorman was Space France, but I actually thought it was more like Space Benelux. For one thing, the resistance was more competent than the traditional French resistance. I mean, let's be real. I know we all love the World War II stories about the French resistance, but they spent as much time fighting communists as they did fighting Nazis. So, and they were not, let's be very clear as well, they were not well loved by the people. The French resistance was one of those things that the war ended and Nazi-loving women got their head shaved, like in Band of Brothers, and suddenly everyone was like, oh, we love the resistance! We love the resistance! Nah, bro. Nah, you only want to be on the winning side at the end. The resistance had a hard fucking fight. You want to see who had a good resistance? Out there in, like, Czechoslovakia, where what country was it where they were making it so the dipsticks on the oil for all the German vehicles were at the wrong height? So it would constantly look like it was at completely full, but it never was. That's real resistance. France was so busy eating itself. There was like a 4-way fight within the resistance. It was crazy. Anyway, I like that the Gormans had their own language and their culture. I thought it was a little strange the spiders didn't really show up.
Yeah.
That's all I have. I thought that, you know, they had a bunch of spider toys. It really felt like they were going to focus on the spiders at some point. Or maybe they would militarize the spiders. We never actually saw a spider. This didn't happen.
We saw some... Yeah, I think...
Yeah, we saw 1970s footage of a spider in the briefing document, but we never saw a spider, you know, like in character.
Yeah. It's only seemed like that. Maybe they talked about the spinning or the spinning factories or the hives or the whatever, how would they call where they grow all of them and produce this, like that. Maybe something would, like, they would hide stuff in there, or that would become a spot where they build up a repository of forces and arms or something like that. Because they do protect those sites. So, under industrial espionage between all the different groups, which was a good reason to give them an excuse for like why they could talk openly in the shop.
Hmm.
Once the person has left, it's like, oh no, we sweep every day, and it's like, oh, isn't that like weird? Like, who does it? It's like, oh no, 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 we are constantly spying. We've been spying on each other to work out who's got the best thread for decades. So that is not unusual at all, which is, and that's 100% true in many different uh industries. So IP theft, but
Yeah.
I will go. So Mon Mothma really. So I enjoyed some like great lines in there. Um, I agree that yep, having old mate come in, I enjoyed bringing him in, and as he gets more and more unhinged and drunk, and very clearly that Luthen was like, yep, he's got to go. Uh, the only thing is, I feel like there was some repetitive conversations in there that like 20%. I think like a 20% edit cut in there would have where everything else was they were trying to speed up and bring up the tempo with the grabbing the TIE fighter and all that sort of stuff, and then the short battles for the rebels. That was the one storyline that actually could have done with a little bit of tightening of the edit on that storyline, because I feel like I got that she was overwhelmed um, well before we got into the right. Now we're going to have your like fuck it all moment and spin around in circles and be like, I just need to let go. I need to let Jesus. I need to let the music take the wheel here because I've lost control. Or I can't control this anymore.
I'll tell you what.
So that was anything. I just 20% little cut on that storyline. I feel like would have tightened it up.
So the thing about her that I didn't like was that they completely forgot about her daughter by the end of it. Like, what's going to happen to her? But the thing that I really liked was her husband. I mean, he was such an incredible, charismatic
Mm.
person in season 2. He came off really likable. You could kind of tell that he was like falling in love with his wife throughout it. And by the end of it, he had just become dejected that she got destroyed. Like, she was going to be arrested on the Senate floor. He's just a guy. He's not a senator. He's not a terrorist. He's just an average imperial citizen who's kind of wealthy, who wants well by his family, wants his daughter to have a good time. He wants to have a good time himself. He wants to live traditional Chandrilan values, and everything in the universe is falling apart. I I
There's a
think that the
scene that
most
was
interesting
cut.
part at the end, like one of the last scenes, is him going away in the air car, very
Mm.
obviously sleeping with Skulden's wife. Um, but he has the bottle of alcohol in his hand, and I thought he was going to drink directly from it. He actually pours it into a glass and drinks from that. And I'm like, way to stage it, bro. Way to show the taste, the je ne sais quoi. Way to show how upper class you are. Sure, you're
Yeah,
sleeping with your
no,
best friend's wife while you are married, but you're going on an alcoholic bender, but you are pouring that alcohol into a glass so it is consumed properly.
yeah, I'm not a commoner. There is a scene that was cut that people like I've had it talked about a few times or referred to a few times, but I haven't seen the breakdown of it. That was between Perrin, Skolden, and Mon Mothma, or maybe it was just Perrin and Mon Mothma. That was cut. That would have been at the end when he like kind of twigs that she's about to do something about the might be all about the Gorman thing, and I feel like like many people have mentioned, it's just like it would have been great to have that back in there to round out his heartbreak that she when he's been falling back in love with her and thinking that they were going to go back to being a family unit and be heading in a good direction, that she then chooses the rebellion, not him. And then
Hmm.
that also affects the because I think in there as well there was a scene that for what's his name? The guy that's helping with all the money.
Tay.
Tay.
Skulden.
So when Tay, yeah, so when Golden Tate, he also gets wrapped up because he's linked in because of the media program, which has a media thing. He gets wrapped up in the grab, um, and so he's also taken out, which actually leaves his wife then as both of them having been partners to traitors, as looked at by the Imperials, and that common bond of both having been in love with or paired with somebody who is now a traitor binds them together, and also being in the same social circles. So I don't think I don't think her husband is around in that scene. I think if he exists, he is in a dark, dark hole.
Interesting.
But that's like, unfortunately, we have to use theater of the mind because they chose to cut that scene. So, but I'd love to see that scene and add that to the context. I feel like it would, I agree, close out that story better. Um, the,
Pedro Miro.
I mean, I did like all the, yeah, I
Oh,
did
go
like
ahead.
all the world building that did happen for the marriages and stuff like that. I feel like again a little bit long, like maybe, but the the whole it was definitely the strongest storyline of that arc of 3 episodes. Um, but yeah, and then I guess you got what are we going to call it? Grain. We got farming sim. We got the
Yeah, we
farming
got
sim
Grain
planet.
Planet. That storyline sucked.
Grain planet.
But I feel like it was really important for some people because it was very clearly about the immigrant experience and all of the like crime that comes along with being a illegal and the things people will do to you that they can get away with because they have power over you because you're an illegal.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy that storyline, but I understood it would be important to some people.
Yeah.
It was super dark though. It was very dark.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Um, totally agree. Um, the choices were made, and I don't think initially they're the wrong choices. They may not have been the choices that I had made, like that I would necessarily have written down on the paper, but I don't have a problem with them in the wider scheme. That's what you want to. That's how you want to highlight it or address it. Then it's not a wrong option. Um,
Okay.
so, but I will say that I feel like Brazo got done a little bit dirty. I feel like he deserved a better ending. I feel like he got. I
There
don't know.
weren't enough
I
jump
don't know
seats
if
in
it
the
was.
TIE Avenger.
Yeah.
Don't you
We got.
understand?
We
You
got.
can only have the number of
Yeah.
people escape
Yeah.
that can strap themselves into the seats.
Yeah.
Isn't it obvious? It was obvious to me that that was what was going to happen, and then it didn't happen. He left the jungle planet alone.
Yeah. I. Yeah. I'm. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think I just really like Brazo as a character. I think he was so important in the first season, and I feel like he was the victim of only one season to
Okay.
wrap it up. Um, and that's disappointing because I like him, but you know, we've only got so much time. Unfortunately, this is what the execs of Disney have decreed. So, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more for him.
We
Um,
have about 10 minutes left. I actually would like to spend a little time contrasting this to the Acolyte. So
whoa! All
the
right.
Acolyte spent.
I'll be
Go ahead.
sorry. I want to preface this. I have not watched the Acolyte. I have technically watched the Acolyte with the watch-alongs on like freeze every frame
I see.
because I was like I want to hear about what's going on and hear some rage because I don't want to actually put my view count on the Disney thing because I already
Okay.
wasn't thrilled with the concept. So yeah, go on.
I think this will make total sense to you. And actually, it's probably a little bit of a condemnation of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian as well. Um, Acolyte cost an enormous amount of money and it looked like shit. Let's just be super clear. Some of the sets were quite good. Pretty much any of the interior ship sets I thought were kind of okay, although the one with the chair droids was kind of stupid, but like the main Jedi ship was kind of good. Some of the sets were good. Some of the sets were fucking awful. They were bad. They looked fake. The cave looked stupid as hell. It definitely looked like it was super fake. I think Andor did an incredible job. The sets were so good. And here's the thing. I think there's one or two scenes where I think they were using whatever they're calling that 360 Unreal Studio that they're using, the Vault or the Visionscape or something like that, what they premiered on The Mandalorian. The thing is, you can really start telling that they're using it because the sets will have a very circular, round, spherical feel to them. And the scene that I think that they might have used it on specifically was one where Clea sees, I think they're medevacing Luthen on like the landing pad outside of the apartment block. And the ship landing area just had this feeling of me of like, oh, look, it's exactly big enough for the Visual Studio Unreal thing. Like, it just felt like that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a wall of screens that are displaying a landscape, and then like 30% of the stuff here is actually real. So much of the scenes from Andor looked real because they were real. Like, everything about Gorman was fantastic. The fucking circular memorial area that they spent most of their time at, the underground vault area, Cyril's office, and him losing his mind at being wiretapped. All of this looks so good. Yavin looked excellent. The inside of the TIE Avenger looked fantastic. I think that...
Yeah. I didn't like the Yavin Knight scene with the rebel. I felt like that wasn't as good.
Sure, but I did like the part where
dark
the
and felt
animals
like
started
cheesy.
killing people. When it got to the horror part, yeah, it really felt like it.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't mind that, and certainly the Yavin of later in their little hut and stuff like that was great.
I feel like
But
Andor's hut
we can't
was a little strange because it was perfectly spherically shaped. You know what I mean? Like, that felt like a separate studio to me.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'd be fine with it being so because there are lots of circular. Like, it meet the aesthetic of.
Sure, it did feel natural, which the whole Yavin base is
Yeah.
supposed to.
Yeah, yeah. I will say we absolutely can't finish without just acknowledging the fact that the whole show should just be called the Cyril arc.
Yeah,
Because
so Cyril's
where he
pistol makes it
begins
to
in
the end of the
season one.
show.
Just so good. I'm so happy. Like, the restraint that they had in his character of being like, if he'd only been harnessed for good.
I don't know. I mean,
good.
I strongly identify with Cyril, which is probably not a good thing. He is a guy looking for order, structure, and peace, and all of his jobs indicate that that's what he likes. And he believes wrongly that the Empire wants those things as well. And his recognition through Deidre's genocide is that not only do they not want that, they are actively the ones working against that plan. And it crushes him. And this is the part that's wild. In the end, he's like, all right, fuck it, I'm going after Cassian Andor. And then Cassian's about to kill him, and he goes, who are you? Cyril's whole life, he's like, Cassian Andor. That's who Deidre's looking for. He's the most dangerous man in the entire Empire. He's the one holding it all together. He knows who Axis is. He's the one who made me lose my job. He stole my gun. Everything comes back to Cassian Andor. And Cassian's like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, who the fuck are you? Oh god, and then to be taken out by a pacifist, the person that was struggling so hard to not escalate, and then he's the one that just murks him.
I do think that was one of the weakest parts of the show for me, was the pacifist guy murdering people, and also the rebellious loudmouth French drunk who ends up being like, oh, you little boy, you pull a gun on me. And then Cinta ends up getting shot by it. I felt like those two characters doing dumbass shit and just like flipping on their established character. Like, what was that guy doing there? And why was he arguing with one of the rebels? Like, he clearly was obviously a sympathizer himself. Why was he arguing with them? Why was he drunk? And then apparently he just joins the rebellion because he's in later scenes being like a lead guy who's like, no, we must pull together now. We must all be Gorman. And I'm like, how did a guy who caused one of the worst fucking disasters on the planet, who ends up killing a bunch of rebel agents and blowing the whole operation, how does he end up being not only the voice of reason after being a screaming lunatic the whole time, how does he end up running it?
So I would say,
yeah,
I'll do a quick one on this. I think when he came, he is the guy that was yelling, going, "Why aren't we doing anything?"
Yeah, that was how he was introduced. He was a rabble rouser.
Yeah, it's like they're doing this and they're doing it in the night. We should be doing something. So that makes sense that he then turns up because he's the one that's been like, hey, we should deal with this. And so he's been creeping around trying to gather more. Well, I say gather more information. He's trying to find out what they're doing. So it's not surprising to me that he turns up. It's also not surprising to me that they didn't invite him because they're trying to do a controlled thing, and he is not acting like somebody I want in my stack for that kind of a task. Now, as to him turning up there and being like, fuck you, get out of here, that is 100%, Mediterranean machismo going on right there.
All right.
Like he thinks he's the PC, and he's rolled up on this thing and he's gone, fuck you, like, were you child, fuck off. And then that has resulted in that death of like, the reality of like, sure, I've had a fight, but like when the fight's over, usually we have a beer afterwards, sort of thing. Once we've sorted it out, to then be like, oh no, I have fucked this. I can see and have seen a machismo person turn into we need, like a better person from that horrific event. So I fucked this and this person died. Even though I don't know this person, I have killed a woman, which again attaches to that machismo part of, protecting women versus killing women, even though there's sometimes some not so good relationships there. But anyway, so I'm okay. And then you got to accept the fact that like, oh yeah, there was like a year jump in here where he had to cool and simmer and whatever into this. And then felt like it's like, oh, I have to do better because, and just like the character who actually shot her or was brought the gun, I now have a debt that, oh, by the way, her whole speech to him afterwards, just in the vehicle as they're driving away to the young bloke, just devastation. I'm like, this guy needs to be on suicide watch after this. Like, you are either really helping here or you are really hurting. We don't know which way this is going to fall.
Well,
but anyway,
we have 2 minutes left, Chris.
We've made it one core of the way through.
No, we've jumped around in the discussion. We got to Deidre Mod at the end and all, and yeah. You have 2 minutes to wrap up. Go ahead.
Yeah, but what about the head of the ISB? We can't not talk about.
Partagaz is incredible. I think he would be a great boss.
So good.
He's results oriented. He's directed. He's he has such snappy comments. Whoever was writing for him fed that actor exactly what he needed. That guy's come so far from being Qyburn in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and he didn't want to take the role originally because and they were like, no, come in and be a Shakespearean actor. Do that. Come and be that character. Be the most hoited Shakespearean actor you can be, and you eat those lines up.
It's an assignment.
And he fucking did.
Temper your expectations.
Oh.
I saw a thing on Reddit about how he was setting up Deidre to take the fall for everything. He let her run 2 separate massacres by herself, and he forced her to take the Triggerman, the captain, who explicitly said that he would only act on Deidre's orders, but he was going to carry out his own personal plan. I love the idea that all along, Partagaz knew that someone was going to have to take the fall for everything they were both doing, and that he was setting Deidre up. And indeed, she ended up hoisting herself up. But Partagaz was absolutely ready to throw her under the fucking bus.
Yeah. Partagaz
He was
could
highly
be.
effective as a
Oh, so
boss.
many good characters. Yeah, and what an ending!
And Deidre was
What an
so
ending!
stupid, walking in there with the fucking thing and then letting a guy get a weapon in his hands and kill himself. We have 10 seconds left, Chris.
Yep.
Final thoughts on Andor.
Deidre was also fantastic. Just so many great things. Very happy
Deidre and Cyril, what a relationship.
we got to an end.
They
Oh,
got up to some freaky
go watch
shit.